welcome to another episode of the Awards Central Podcast. I am your host, Ricky Valero. On today's episode, we are going to be diving back into the world of the Academy Awards, breaking down our predictions for the Best Director and Best Picture race. It is a wild race indeed on both sides of the fence. That being said, folks, if you are listening right now and you missed our Golden Globe prediction show, it is available on YouTube and all podcast platforms. The show is coming January 5th. And we will also be hosting a live show after the Golden Globes are over, which should be a lot of fun. Those are always fun and crazy, just based on the simple fact that we are talking about all the crazy events that happened during the award show. But very, very excited indeed. This is our final prediction show before we make our final predictions ahead of the nominations for the Academy Awards that are coming January the 17th. But without further ado, I am joined here by my podcast partner here, Mr. Benji. How are you, bud?
Very good, thank you, sir. I'm very excited to get back onto this and do a take two of Oscar predictions. So hopefully, now that my Wi-Fi box is literally right there, we shouldn't have any more issues.
No worries at all. Let's dive in like we talked about. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna share our five predictive categories for the best director race. But first, we're gonna kick off where I think Benji's at, where it comes to who is number six, who is number seven in your best director race. He's gonna say Denis, and it's gonna make me mad, but it doesn't really surprise me.
Yeah, so I think Eric heard me just before I cut out. So yeah, my number six and seven at the moment, and I'm going a little bit ballsy, and this could very much change with potential winners and who gets nominated in other award circuits. But as of here and now, I've got Denis Villeneuve and Edward Berger's out out of the race thus far.
Also, just letting everybody know at home, my name's actually Ricky, but he'll call me Eric the entire podcast because that's Benji's favorite thing to do. But it's all right. That being said, all right, man, I struggle with this because I feel confident in several different people. I feel like Payout Kapata is somebody that's really boosting up in the thing, up in the market, and it's just based on the simple fact that everybody, she did get nominated to Golden Globe, so let's stop there. Yes, she has that in her favor. B, she's not really showing up in a whole lot of other places. You know what I mean? She definitely is. She did appear at Gotham, which helps her case as well. But then on the flip side, you have like somebody like John Chu showed up at NBR, which was not only just showed up at NBR, somehow won. But my first two out are going to be Payak Kapade and give me Ramil Ross for Nickel Boys. Those are my first two. I
Ooh.
really want Ramil Ross in there, but I just don't think the Academy has the balls to do something very smart with their category. All right. This is what we're gonna do. Benji, I want you to give me your five through one in order. Five, four, three, two, one, just as such. And then of course break down your winner as well.
So I feel like we're both going to disagree on my last two quite somewhat, but I've decided whilst we're still relatively early in the season and whilst we're not too guaranteed nominees yet, I'm going to go a little bit ballsy and hope that it pays off. So my number one to win is Brady Corbet for The Brutalist. You know, love that movie. It's the most ambitious. It's got the most kind of scale to it. It's the most ambitious directorial feat. And no matter what my your opinion is of the movie, it's one of the most acclaimed movies of the year. A lot of people seem to really appreciate and respect Corbet's vision, his direction, where he decided to take The Brutalist, the fact that he made it for under $10 million. So I'm pretty confident as of now saying that's number one. Number two, unfortunately, is Sean Baker for Aurora, despite the fact I really don't see why that's even kind of up for any sort of directorial love. That just seems to be where people are going. Number three, Jack Sawyer Dard for Amelia Perez. Number four, Coralie Farjot for The Substance. And number five, Morale Ross for The Nickel Boys.
Yeah, solid picks, solid picks. All right, for me, my five, I got Denis in. And when you say, the best visionary direction of the year, and you talk about Brady Corbet over Denis, it's just absolutely mind-boggling. I don't. Benji, we don't drug test here at the Award Central, so you know what I mean. It's okay though. But no, it's all right. Denis Part Two. I just don't see a world where they could snub this man, and it's gonna happen. But I have to put him there at number five. Let's see here. I got Jaquez Adored for Amelia Perez coming in at number four. I do have Sean Baker three for Honora. I do have Edward Berger at number two. Um, and then Brady Corbet for The Brutalist coming in at number one. I just don't think he's going to lose the Oscar. I don't. I don't see it in a world where he does. I feel like this movie's doing a lot of different things across the board, and he's got a lot going for him. And again, not a fan of the film, but I can see some visionary there. Definitely wouldn't be my pick. But what would it be if the Academy actually picked my picks? It would be awesome. But
Yeah, never happens.
no. And I mean, to be honest with you guys, if we're talking about visionary, we're talking about different, we're talking about unique, Ramil Ross should win for Best Director then. All right. Now, this is the category that's a lot of fun just because it is what it is, and that's Best Picture. Because honestly, I feel like, in my opinion, we have some top heavy hitters that are locked in to be in the Best Picture category. But with the Best Picture category being 10, I'm going to allow Benji here to give me his first three out.
My top 10, I feel like is going to be most people's top 10 right now. And I feel like this may be just kind of where we go for the rest of the season. And for the pure sake of it, making it a little bit more fun, I'd love to see a couple more movies potentially make it within the race. And I'm looking out for BAFTA and PGA primarily. But my three out thus far are A Real Pain, September 5, and The Seed of the Sacred Fig.
I like it, kind of. All right, my first three outs are The Substance, September 5, and I'm with you at The Seed and the Sacred Fig. Those are my first three outs. Again, not, I know everybody will hammer me at some point, but I'm just not a substance kind of guy. I don't think the Academy will be either. I think that this is one of those critical movies, and I don't think it's going to appear at the Academy very much, if at all. All right, so this is what we're going to do. Benji's going to actually listen to whenever I tell him whatever he's going to do this time. We're only going to give number 10, your number 10, your number 9, your number 8, your number 7, and number 6. So I want you to go
Okay.
backwards, give me your 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, and then I'll give my 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, and then we'll give 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 with our winners. So what do we got here?
So my number 10, even though I still feel like it'll make it in at the end of the day, I'm waiting for another movie to potentially come in and take its thunder a little bit. My number 10 is a complete unknown purely because that's so new so far. We don't actually well and truly know kind of how we feel about it, how awards feel, how kind of awards folks feel about it. Sometimes this happens where something's new, it's fresh, it booms and it kind of goes off the radar. Sometimes it does the opposite, where you get an American Sniper, The Wolf of Wall Street, where it kind of builds and then come Oscar morning, it gets five, six, seven, eight nominations. Number nine, I have The Substance. Number eight, I've got Nickel Boys. Number seven, I've got Sing Sing. And number six, I have Doom Part 2.
Yeah, number 10 for me, I have A Real Pain. My one thing that I'm semi predicting right now, with it being number 10 and A Real Pain right now, is Jesse Eisenberg getting into the fifth slot for actor. I feel like that to me is what I'm predicting, could be changed again by the time we make these final predictions, but I think that extra nomination for this film is what catapults it into the Best Picture race. Um, Number 9, I have Nickel Boys. Nickel Boys is definitely a film that I love and wish would be a lot higher on people's radar. Number 8, I have Dune Part 2. Number 7, I have Sing Sing. And then number 6, I have A Complete Unknown. All right. I'm gonna put you on the spot of the five that you had in that 6 through 10. The five that you had in that 6 through 10.
Mhm.
Which one of these films over the next couple weeks could you see make a momentum with Critics' Choice, maybe Golden Globes, maybe some more critics thing? Could you catapult and put into your top five?
It's tricky, isn't it? Because you'd think on the surface it'd be easy for me to say Doom Part Two because it's my number six, so you could see it maybe squeaking in. But my actual worry with Doom Part Two is it could go down. Sing Sing, I think is pretty set where it is. I feel like come the end of the day, it's going to get two or three nominations, and then it'll kind of be lucky to be in Best Picture. It's a shame because I love Sing Sing, but I feel like that's definitely dropped off. A Complete Unknown, I'm still kind of waiting to see. I do feel like even if that does make it in, which I feel like it will still be at the lower end of the 10. So ultimately, I'm looking at Nickel Boys and The Substance. Now, The Substance, I already do think if it does get into Best Picture, it will automatically come with a backlog of a lot of nominations. So I'm going to leave that one, even though on a complete and utter personal bias, I'd love to catapult it way up to the top. The one I'm looking out for the most is actually Nickel Boys, purely because when you watch Nickel Boys, like how can you disagree on its kind of style, its ambition, how how the story told, how kind of intense it is, but at the same time the amount of hope that it gives you. So if I was kind of look at one of these movies and look at it and kind of go like, which one of these movies could like really make it big in the Oscars, potentially be in the top three for a Best Picture win, I'd probably say Nickel Boys. I'm very excited to see where that movie's path takes it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's definitely a movie that could play well with SAG as well. I definitely
Mhm.
feel like SAG is gonna kind of pepper that movie. I definitely can see that getting into SAG ensemble as well. But for me, the film that I feel like can catapult into my top five is definitely A Complete Unknown. I feel like I agree with you based on everything you said, but I really believe right now, again, this is to be determined, but it's a movie that I feel like is going to be peppered in several different categories. I see Edward Norton getting in. Could Elle Fanning or Monica Barbera show up as well? I definitely think that it's a possibility. And I feel strongly about Complete Unknown because, as I mentioned on several different podcasts now, especially in our acting category one, I have Timothy Chalamet winning the Oscar right now. Because of that, I feel confident in this movie being a little bit higher, but it's definitely more of I feel like our the top five is so solidified that I feel like it's hard for any film at this point to really catapult itself into that. But we're just going off wing and a prayer here, folks. Wings and a prayer. All right. So what I want you to do now, Benji, give me your 5, 4, 3, and we'll talk about two and one together. But give me 5, 4, 3, and I'll give you my 5, 4, 3.
Okay, sir. So my number five is Amelia Perez. Number four is Wicked. My number three, and I feel like you may be a little bit surprised by this, is The Brutalist.
Um, my number five is Amelia Perez. My number four is The Brutalist. And then my number three is Honora.
Mm, interesting. Okay. I'm very surprised by that because I'm pretty sure, I mean, I respect the ambition. I know most people have Nora at number one, but I like where you're going with this.
All right, two and one. And why do you think your best picture is going to win today?
So, number two is Conclave, and as mentioned, number one is Nora. So, both have very good paths to winning Best Picture in my opinion at the moment. The Brutalist, this happens every year where you get some big directorial feat, and then more often than not, it just doesn't end up going into a Best Picture win. Like last year, you had Oppenheimer from Christopher Nolan, which kind of was like that. So I've got to kind of admit that when I say that, but then also in the same breath, you have Mark Scorsese, Killer of the Flower Moon. You have Bradley Cooper, Maestro. You get Quentin Tarantino, Once Time in Hollywood. Mark Scorsese for The Irishman again. More often than not, when these big, ambitious movies that are trying to be proper Oscar baity come into the Oscar race, they do very well with nominations, but they either get no wins or very few wins, which is what I feel like could happen with The Brutalist. The Oscars tend to go with something that's more kind of screenplay that has a lot more of like an emotional kind of harbor to it, one that kind of tells a more interesting story rather than just being like a big spectacle in general. So for that, I'm Nora at number one purely because I can see it getting the package of screenplay, actress, and picture, which just sounds very appetizing. And that just so sounds like the trio of what a Best Picture winner would get nowadays. And then my number two is Conclave for a similar reason. I could also see it doing a screenplay, actor, and picture. Now, I have Nora at number one purely because I think Mikey Madsen's a lot more likely to win Best Actress than Ray Fiennes is for Best Actor. Not only that though, but I feel like the Academy in general over the past few years, ever since Parasite won Best Picture, they've been kind of moving away from what you'd think that they'd give Best Picture, and they've been kind of moving more towards going towards things that you wouldn't expect to happen. 10 years ago, a movie like Parasite would never have won Best Picture. A movie like Everything Everywhere All at Once wouldn't have won Best Picture. Even a movie like and Nomadland, and even a movie like Coda, which fair enough, I know not everyone revered as a great Best Picture winner, myself included. 10 years ago, a little indie movie that went right to stream would never have won Best Picture. So I'm kind of looking at those two movies, which one kind of fits within that package better, and I think it's an aura.
Yeah, so my number two right now is a film that it's crazy. Isn't it crazy that Conclave is considered a front runner and isn't winning shit? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's crazy. It's not winning anything. Like, sure, it's got nominated. It was in the top 10 or whatever for NBR. It was in the top 10 for AFI. It's in the best picture for Critics' Choice. It's best picture for Golden Globes. It's got many things under its belt, but it has nothing. It's winning nothing. Ralph's winning nothing. Rossellini, I think, actually won more things than Ralph has. I've seen her name at least once or twice. You know what I mean? So it's definitely weird that we're talking about a frontrunner, and I think it's the prototypical Oscar film to win. I feel like Conclave probably wins Best Picture 20 years ago with no question. I think 15 years ago, no question. And it's crazy because you broke down why over the last, this last decade, we're having a variance of wins across the board, and Conclave fits the bubble for everything that you said would have won 10, 15 years ago. And that's why I think the variance of that and the variance of what we're doing with the Academy, I'm predicting that Wicked is going to win Best Picture. And it's weird, it's crazy, but I again, I believe that this film will could win Best Picture for a variety of different reasons. If you look at how they vote for Best Picture, the preferential ballot and stuff like that, can Amelia Perez really be high on that preferential ballot? Because I think for every person that likes Amelia Perez, I think there's going to be three or four that don't. It's very crazy conversation. I think we're in a position, and I think Benji agreed with me here. Amelia Perez could easily underperform in several different
Yep.
things at the Academy because of the film. That Best Actress race, there's a lot of people. Not as crazy as it sounds, it could very much underperform. It could underperform and not get director. I think it could not get actress. I really feel like that could potentially happen. I feel like if Amelia Perez is not as big as people think it is with the Academy as it is with the other award shows, I feel like that could make Zoe Saldana lose the momentum a little bit. Again, that opens the door for another win for Wicket. I feel like Wicket could win several different below the line categories just based on the love of the film. And then when you look at the Brutalist. How can the Brutalist and you said it shocked me that it was a little bit lower. The Brutalist doesn't seem like a film that could really be do very well on the preferential ballot either. You know what I mean? It doesn't. It doesn't feel like it's one of those films where it's like I could really see it winning the director because of everything that you mentioned earlier and everything that we've talked about it being director. Conclave, the perfect preferential ballot film. And that's the reason why everybody's predicting it. It's an easy watch. It's very good. It's very tense. It's very well acted. Ralph does give a phenomenal performance. I love the score of Conclave. I think it's become one of my favorite scores of the year. I think I mean, I don't know if I'll rewatch it. I don't try to rewatch a lot of the films because when I get into 2025 mode, I want to be in 2025 mode, but maybe maybe we'll do that on the podcast, or maybe we'll rewatch some of the best picture nominees and talk about them a little bit more in depth. But when it comes down to it, but then it's like, all right, well, Ricky, will a 2 hour and 40-minute movie singing and dancing and but it's so flashy. It's so pretty. It's
Yeah.
so this, it's so that, and it's such a great social media moment. You know what I mean? Like it's 2020, about to be 2025. And can you imagine social media? Twitter might break if Wicked wins Best Picture. You might not be able to log in if it wins Best Picture. But if the night starts and we hear Ariana Grande wins for Wicked, and I still think that's going to happen at the Globes, but if you hear it, the momentum starts building. And again, Amelia Perez is such a film that's so weird to me that is, again, a film we both love. Both love. A film we both love. However, we also understand how the Academy thinks about things. There's certain people that are not going to be okay voting and putting Carla Sofia Gascon on their ballot that are inside the Academy. I hate to say it, but it's true. We have to talk
Hmm.
facts here. We talk facts
Yep.
about The Apprentice. We were the one of the, I believe we were one of the first podcasts talking about The Apprentice and why we didn't think it was potentially going to be a factor. Sure, did the Golden Globes veer off the beaten path? Yes, but it's not a film that we've heard a whole lot about outside of the Golden Globes. And we saw that with the actors on actors thing. Nobody wanted to participate in the actors and actors with Sebastian Stan because of nobody wants to be in that bubble. But because of that, that's why I think Wicked is it's am I gonna be Wicked in before nominations? I don't know. But I definitely feel right now it's a 1A, 1B situation with Wicked and Conclave. Um and it's crazy because it's weird when you break it down. Like, could the Brutalists be Killers of the Flower Moon? Could Anora be Killers of the Flower Moon? Like, there's gonna be one of these films that are peppered across the board that could not win a single thing. You know what I mean? Could Amelia Perez be Barbie, where all it wins is song?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's impossible. I mean, the one thing I will say about the whole Wicked winning Best Picture, I don't think it's impossible, and I see why people are saying it, but and I feel like a bit of a dick saying it because I'm always one talking about the preferential ballot, but until the day it doesn't happen, this is the one thing that puts me off is that you've got to think about the package that comes with it. For one, there's still a part two to it, which could put a lot of people off wanting to vote for this for Best Picture out the number one on the ballot. Second of all, I feel like we get a lot of nominations, but in terms of bigger nominations and wins, we don't even think it's getting nominated for director, and it's very 50-50 if you get nominated for screenplay. At that point, then I'm relying on a screenplay win in order to think that Wicked has a chance at winning Best Picture because it does have supporting actress, which would potentially have supporting actress, which could be very good. But then it would need that, in my opinion, also screenplay and Best Picture. But in Wicked's favor, and I say this every year, and I'm waiting for it to happen. And I feel like this year it could be the year. I'm not saying it will be, but if there's any year, it will be this year where we don't have like one set movie like Oppenheimer that's just going to win a load of Oscars. The preferential ballot, the way that it works, it incorporates everybody's picks, everybody's ranking. It's primarily the top four. Now, there's going to be a year that comes around where there's just going to be some random movie that just wins Best Picture where none of us saw that was happening. It'd be like the equivalent of last year of something like the Zone of Interest, Natalie or Barbie one, movies that weren't at number one or two, but just had enough like number one and two votes in the preferential ballot in order to win. So Wicked is a very likable movie. I don't know anybody or many people that outright hate it. I know people that love it or really like it. So it will also be a movie that does get a lot of number one, twos, and threes. So I'm not going to say it's impossible either. So there's a lot of pros and cons to it, but I like the risky pick.
Yeah, and again, if Wicked falls in its face at the Golden Globes, and or at Critics' Choice, I can definitely see myself doing it about face. But right now, it's about what I believe is could potentially happen over the next few weeks. But that being said, that is it for this week's episode. The next episode you'll probably hear from us after this. This will drop this week, so you'll probably hear our Golden Globe reaction show next week. And then, of course, there's Critics' Choice route around the corner. And with Critics' Choice, I will be actually in LA for Critics' Choice. And then right after that, we'll probably have a Critics' Choice reaction podcast. And then, we'll zoom right into the we'll zoom right into the final predictions. And then after obviously the final predictions is where the fun comes in, where we start talking about who's going to win at the Academy Awards after we complain about who is not nominated. When we hear Benji for, I don't know, probably 20 consecutive minutes complaining because the substance didn't get in any of the major categories. But that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Award Central podcast. We will be back soon.
Bye bye.